So check this out. I was blessed to be a part of the press team for DreamCon this year, where I got to talk to RDC, Some Bros, King Bader, and Jordan Bentley of Hypeland. So this is every question I got to ask at DreamCon. But first up, we're gonna do RDC. And even before we get into this video, I just want to say thank you to DreamCon for even allowing me to do this, because we'll talk about that in another video. But let's get into it.
All right, so first up, we got Miami News Times.
That's a clean fit.
Thank you.
Dapper.
My name is Cleveland. I write for the Miami New Times, and my first question is, just like you, Issa Rae, who you've been working with for Dark Lights and Michael B. Jordan, is known to also build things from the ground up. She also has multiple endeavors, such as a coffee shop. What have you learned from her entrepreneurship?
What have I learned from her? I mean, well, first of all, I learned how to run a production company from her because I'm always up at theirs, seeing how they run things and move around. I really like the fact that it doesn't really feel like you're at a company. It feels like you're just at a place that's genuine and with friends, and y'all are trying to make the best, quality content or, movies or TV shows that you can make, And I feel like at some companies you walk in, they got the parking and all that extra stuff. But in hers, like, yeah, she got closed off, the studio and everything. But when you walk in there, it just feel like it's a family in there working together. You know what I'm saying? To really get something out. And it makes sense because she's always in, good quality movies and TV shows, And all her people in her department are very relatable. And I think that really helps them continue to be successful.
Now, working with Michael B. Jordan, like what advice have they given you that you implement for your own team?
Well, that's still on Issa Rae's. Issa Rae's president, Montreal, he helps me a lot, man. He calls me like every other week just to help me with how to deal with kind of transitioning from social media content to TV shows and movies while still doing social media content. And most of the advice is really just keep having the hunger to create, because that's what they have. They have the hunger still, no matter how successful they get. They love what they're doing. They have passion for what they're doing, So I really think that is what they've taught me. Because like when you see them, and you know how successful Issa Rae is, but when you see her work, she's still working the exact same way. I ain't seen her beforehand, but I'm sure she's still working in the exact same way she was beforehand. You know what I'm saying? And she's very nice and kind to everybody and shows us all love and direction.
Cool. Now, one more question. Now, she started her YouTube channel with Awkward Black Girl. Do you feel like you see yourself within her?
For sure. I feel like, and she came in at a great time. Like just when she made Awkward Black Girl, that got her a good transition over to HBO. I feel like we've been doing really the same thing, And we've had chances to go to Hollywood, but we want to do it in the right way, in a way that feels authentic to RDC World, and not just go because somebody offered something. You know what I'm saying? I really want to make an impact on the world consistently, And just like we did with content, I want to do it in movies.
My question for you, when it comes to fighting scenes, so you have you did your JJK and now you're on the Blade. When it comes to fighting scenes, what goes into making a beautiful, violent dance rather just a regular fight scene?
So, when it comes to fight scenes, it's a dance. You know what I'm saying? It's you, it's your partner. It's having that trust, and it's also having the preparation to make it as good as possible on the day when you shoot it. You know what I'm saying? Because like JJK, I'm a bit more comfortable with. It's hand to hand. You know what I'm saying? Like you can fake a lot of that stuff and boom, bam. Mm-hmm. Blade, I have a katana it's not real, but at the wrong swing, it can really hurt someone. So I've done things with weapons before. I've done The Witcher. I had to use a broadsword, and that was crazy. I think this is the first time I ever used a katana. So I definitely think when it comes to fight scenes, it's about, preparation as much as possible. You know what I'm saying? Having respect for the person that you are in this battle with, that you're in this dance with. Because that's literally what it is. And I'm glad you said that word. It's like knowing your steps, your beats, your 1-2, your moments where you can add a little character into it. And then just going over and over. Funny thing about the club sequence in The Blade was, so the leather jacket weighs around like 50 pounds, okay?
Oh, wow.
I didn't wear that jacket until day one of shooting, and day one of shooting was the club scene. So I had to adjust to the weight of this leather jacket, and I had to do the fight scenes that I practiced without a leather jacket and just make it all make sense.
Wow.
So I'm sitting here wearing it. I'm like, damn, it's got some weight on it. I'm like, whoa, okay. So, I'm like, in my mind, the doubts start coming like, okay, this is heavy. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. Because I have to do a kip up, you know what I'm saying? I have to
Yeah,
kip off
yeah.
the ground, you know what I'm saying, with the leather on. But then I started to think, I'm just like, look, you know what I'm saying? Like, Wesley, the GOAT, he did it, you know what I'm saying? There was no complaining. I mean, not that I know of. I just know he goes in and he gets the job done, and then he goes home. So I just kind of had to lock into, like, just get it done, you know what I'm saying? No, remember your steps, get out of your head, get the job done. And, yeah.
Super dope. One more question. Now, when it comes to cinematography, what's an aspect within filmmaking that you wish like consumers or viewers would appreciate more of?
Man. I mean, okay, for me personally, something I just like, I say one-shotters. I think one-shotters are extremely impressive. I think they take a lot of time to prep, and when people see them, it just kind of goes by. But I think that's also the point. It's the beauty of, like, it's disguised as a one-shot because you can't even tell, like, oh, they haven't cut yet. Oh my God. So I feel like that's just the thing that I really appreciate. So yeah.
Super dope.
100%.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right. You got it.
With the many short films that you've made, which one has pushed you forward as like a director, actor? Which one has been the most challenging for you?
It's between the last two that I've done, and that's this Strange Blade versus Ghost Rider, and Don't Disrespect Halloween 5. I feel like those are the most ambitious projects I've done to date, and the most, like, challenging. For DDH5, I believe I either played three or two. No, I played three characters. I played Jason, I played Pennywise, and then I played Judge Pennywise. And it just took me in a range that I didn't know I had until I did it. So, yeah.
Hey, my name is Cleveland from Miami New Times. My question is for you is, when it comes to licensing these brands, working alongside these conglomerates, has there been a time where they kind of try to restrict your creative control? And if so, how do you go about that?
Well, I'll say licensing in general is a restriction of creative control. But I'll say for me personally, I think like true creativity is being able to work within like a box and being as creative as possible within that box. I think that's what I was saying about the advantage of licensing versus the disadvantages. I think when you work with like a collaborator, they're always going to have their own opinions of things. And then if like a creative Naruto has the things that he wants to protect for his brand. So, it's extremely limiting. I'd say for me, I've been doing it for so long, so like I kind of have a better understanding of like how, like what'll push, and like every licenser is different. But I guess to like navigate that, really like I try and move backwards a little bit. So I design from like as best as possible basis without the restrictions in mind, and I get their feedback afterwards on like what to take out, rather than say, like I know they'll approve this, let's make this instead. I want to try and push the boundary and have you come back, because a lot of times what happens is like we'll do some stuff, and if they really like it, they'll advocate for us, and it'll pass, rather than us like kind of playing it safe for the first time. I'm like a very risky person where that comes with like any type of thing outside of clothes. So for me, I'm like work backwards, give you the best product first, allow you to kind of like chop it down afterwards so I can take things out or get your feedback, rather than say, hey, let me give you the dumbed down version and then kind of like spark it up afterwards. So I recommend just kind of like working backwards and saying, hey, look, like here's the best thing, and you might know that it won't get approved, but I'm gonna give you the best option anyway, and then let's work together to approve it as close as the best option as we can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Also, when it comes to fashion, is very diverse, from not just streetwear but high fashion, whatever the case may be. But why did you choose streetwear, and what does that mean to you?
So I chose streetwear just because that's where I came up from. So Hypeline originally started because I grew up in streetwear. Like I was in, I think, like 6th grade when I discovered like a brand like the Hundreds and like that whole like skate culture. So for me, like just has some personal relevance. It started off as a streetwear company first. Growing up in LA, I got to see brands like Supreme, Diamond, the Hundreds, like that whole Fairfax space kind of bloomed. So naturally I was like, hey, I like this, like let me try and make this myself. Hypeline wasn't like an anime streetwear thing first. It was just kind of like regular streetwear, probably for like, I think until like 20, maybe like 2018, I think, from like
Yeah.
when I started the brand in like 2010. So it's like, you know, a long period of time before, you know, we got into like the whole anime stuff. But then also I think for like just the anime consumer in general, I think streetwear is the most accessible. I think I love when I see brands like do collaborations with like Loewe or like Louis Vuitton or whatever, but that's not the most accessible for like consumer. I feel like with streetwear you can touch more, you know, you can touch more lives. Not everybody has the money. I remember being a kid and just not being able to afford like a $30 t-shirt.
Right.
Like with streetwear, you at least can like attain that. If I started selling $600 jackets, like nobody would be wearing it because like I'm not even spending $600 on a jacket, so I charge my consumer that. You know what I mean? It's like honestly, as much as possible, I feel like I have this like double-end divide where I want to like offer like the best quality t-shirt of like what I personally like and like these crazy ass jackets, but I know that it's not always possible from like a consumer basis because I know like my consumer doesn't want to pay that much money and I really don't want to charge people that much money. We only charge like I think our biggest caveat that we get all the time is like pricing, and we only charge that much because like obviously like I have to make money on this stuff and it costs money on my business, but it's like if I could make things cheaper, I would, just because it, like, one, it just helps more people wear stuff. I want more people wearing things. Like, it doesn't do me any good to have stuff sitting at a warehouse, you know, in downtown and not selling.
Wow. And like working alongside Virgil, what's the best advice he's given you?
Bro, focus on one thing. I think like I have a YouTube video where I was like 18 or 19 at the time, and like the best advice or the biggest takeaway I have from that video was that as humans we have many interests, but not all of those interests need to be reflected in like your business. And after we had that conversation, he was like, yo, like you have this flag stuff at the time, that's was doing all that stuff. You have this like high-end military piece that you want to be a part of. You have this anime stuff. He's like, you need to focus on one of them. And like literally a few months later, I had a dream that I collaborated with Dragon Ball Z. And I went out and like told one of my homies, and we drew a bunch of designs. And my mom was like, you absolutely cannot do that. And like coincidentally, my mentor and like one of my good friends who owns that brand, Chinatown Market, hit me and was like, yo, I'm going to this show called Licensing Expo in Vegas. And he's like, I'm leaving tomorrow. And this was like a days after my mom had told me no. We got into a heated argument about the fact that I wanted to do this like unlicensed thing. Went out there, got told nobody, everybody except for Viz, and they gave me the bleach license. So I think, I don't know, man, it's just, it's been quite the journey when it comes to that stuff.
For sure.
But yeah, man, it's just been a natural transition. I would say the biggest advice, take away, just focus on one thing. I think that you can start many businesses, but when you focus on like one thing, your brand becomes known for that, and it's easier to market it. It's easier to align it with it. It's like if I did a million things, you wouldn't see a million people wearing it because you confuse your consumer. But now it's like everybody knows, like, yeah, you guys are the best, like nerdy pop culture, like lifestyle brand. People come to us for that. When brands want to do collaborations, we're the brand that introduces them to that space. So we're like the gatekeepers of that. If we were doing a million things, you wouldn't be able to tell. You'd be like,
right,
what's going on with the Hypeline brand.
Thank you. All right, so this moment right here was special. If anybody knows me, knows that I'm a big Berleezy fan. He just became one of my biggest inspirations when it comes to content creation and gaming, and like he just put the battery in my back just to do what I want to do and to do what I love to do. And I always want to be like a content creator or a YouTuber growing up, but I just never had the courage just to get in front of the camera and just begin talking as I am now. I'm like more comfortable to get in front of that camera more than ever. But just seeing someone that looked like me also doing the things that I love to do was it was just such an inspiration and just a game-changing moment for me. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Don't want to stay for too long, but let's get into it.
All right, my name is Cleveland. I'm right from my name in New Times. This is a question for everybody, but this was particularly to you, Berleezy. Okay. So you were one of my inspirations. You were one of the first people that I saw that looked like me, that was into that I'm into now, which is into content creation and doing gaming things, just get in front of the camera.
Thank you.
And yeah, you inspired me into doing that. So my question is, what inspires you, and how does that connect to the work that you do now?
Well, I really do appreciate you saying that, bro. I will say, so when I first started, I was also inspired by other YouTubers. I always credit Timothy De La Ghetto and I credit Kevin Edwards Jr. Right, like those are the two goats in my eyes. And so now these days, I feel like what inspires me is like just seeing what these dudes and sis, what they do, and just trying to stay in that same rhythm with them, like I said, when I see Dante doing this thing, it makes me want to get off my ass and like keep it going,
Right.
You get to a certain point, I feel like, and there's no dollar figure, there's no time amount, but you get to a point where you're like, something either got to change or I'm gonna move on, right? And sometimes even going back and looking at old stuff and being like, oh, okay. I think inspiration, it comes in many forms. It could be a trip, right? Like you can go somewhere, like we just went to Vegas not too long ago, and we had a great conversation there that really like was like, okay, like, this isn't as heavy as it sometimes can feel. So I think you just gotta find it in different things, you know? Like it could be a song that you hear and you're like, oh, okay, I feel ready to do this today. You just gotta, you know, make the most, because again, content creation, there's no rules, right? So you just gotta make them up as you go. And part of that is also like, how do I motivate myself to get up and do it? A large part of that is also a calendar though. Because I feel like if you're in a rhythm, things will just start to create naturally, you know what I mean?
It's hard to be consistent too.
It is hard to be consistent. It is hard to be consistent.
Trust me, yeah, I know. It definitely is.